Tell me about China and South Park.
Oh yeah.
Oh geez, we want to get into that. So with
Quickly, right?
quickly,
there's not
quickly.
yeah.
So
Don't you mean Integrity Farms?
So the main thing is that there's been all kinds of.
It's not called South Park anymore.
So
It's called the Tegrity Farms show now.
Tegrity Farms?
This season.
Listen, so Randy Marsh, he takes his family and he goes and starts a cannabis farm called Tegrity Farms.
Tegrity Farms.
And so a lot of the seasons, center around Tegrity Farms.
Okay.
And well, in this episode, he decides to tap into that China market. And so he goes to China and we'll say that he effectively sells out a little bit. He sells some of his integrity to get some of that China money. But the main thing about that episode, and this episode is called Banned in China. Banned in China.
And it was banned, right?
Yeah, B-A-N-D though, because it's part of the whole thing is it centers around like the kids have a band that then they play like just real
death
metal music. But there's an aspect of that episode where they're critiquing Hollywood, saying that Hollywood censors themselves to do better business overseas.
Which is 100% true.
Yeah, I mean, like last year, I looked into this. Last year, the sales, like film box office numbers in China alone, gross like over $9 billion. I mean, how many films do poor here in America, but then recoup their costs overseas?
Every Fast and Furious
happens
movie.
all the time.
Think about how many people are over there in China.
Yes,
Like it feels like a different planet.
It's a
so
bubble,
many.
dude. There's a bubble.
So many.
It feels like a completely
And
different
so
world.
to add some context to this, I mean, right now you've got the Hong Kong protesters,
Right.
and so for the longest time, China was operating under this kind of like two.
It's basically like a dual government.
Yeah, it's like
thing.
two city, one state kind of thing where you've got Hong Kong and it's kind of like a country within a country. It almost feels like, and that's all due to the fact that there was the handover from the Brits in 97. But anyway, so you got all these people now protesting, and there's been a bunch of other organizations that have now since stepped on landmines. You know, you've got the NBA, you've got the Activision / Blizzard. They stepped on a landmine.
Oh, yeah, that's right. Everyone wants to boycott.
Yeah, what happened is that one of
the
in the NBA you had like the general manager Morey who
from the
said
Houston
some
Rockets. He
stuff
said stand with Hong Kong.
Yes,
China's
fight for freedom.
Yeah, F you.
And then
NBA players lost contracts.
China pull like their preseason games, and so then the NBA kind of is like backpedaled. They've said some things. Even like just 2 days ago, LeBron
today LeBron backed up on everything he said. Now they're like, no one wants to talk about China.
LeBron was like, I think Morey was ill-informed.
Yeah, he said, uninformed in his tweets and should have
misguided.
Yeah, misguided.
What's crazy is that someone was showing today some footage from a NBA 2K20 where there's a cut scene with LeBron where he's basically trying to make it seem like he's the voice of all the disenfranchised worldwide, and like, this is such a bad look.
Yeah, he had to come back on it because he's like, Daryl Morey's like, he doesn't know what he's talking about. Dude, I need my millions from China, guys. Yeah. And everyone's like, oh, is that why you're getting involved now? Because you lost a couple sponsorships?
Emperor James of the LeBron dynasty.
Yeah, they're like losing money over there. I mean, even just today, there was teams over there. So everybody doesn't know what to do.
When with Blizzard, there was a streamer that showed some support for Hong Kong protesters, and they not only suspended him, but then they took back his earnings money from a recent tournament that he had won. And so it caused all this uproar. Then you've got Apple, who pulled a app from their app store that
saw
was
that.
a very popular downloaded app in Hong Kong that was connecting a lot of the protesters and helping with their movement. And so
Yeah.
they pulled it from their app store. So anyway, you got all these American companies now, including Hollywood, that are
Money.
are tapping into that China market. But the problem is that there's a lot of money to be made, but showing from mainland China, coming out of Beijing, they view them as like just straight radicals, like a separatist movement that they vehemently oppose. I mean, you've got now, and this has escalated to the point where today I read that the House passed a bill for what they're calling like the Hong Kong Human Rights and something or other bill, but basically they're trying to keep the two city like type one state thing in place, but the idea is that they're going to be able to review annually what Hong Kong is doing, and if they're kind of stepping out of line, or sorry, if Hong Kong is in some way being impaired of being able to trade with us, it would allow them to then further sanction China. And also they're seeking like to get the identities of people that were causing violence in like this movement. And anyway, China's like freaking out about it. So tensions right now are really high between the U.S. and China. And from my perspective, I mean, if someone like Hollywood wants to go and do business, and the episode's funny because it shows a screenwriter. I can't remember which boy it was, but he's writing. Was it? Do you remember which one it was? Of the South Park Boys, but he's a Stan, I think. He's like writing a script, and there's like
they're doing a movie version of the band.
Yeah, and then the Chinese military guy is just pacing behind him, and then every once in a while he looks over his shoulder and sees what he's writing on, in his script, and then he'll take the pen from him and
add in
scribble it out.
Scribble things out. So he's like censoring him as he goes.
And it was very effective because it's showing that like. People in Hollywood are actively changing their scripts so that it'll get it'll be viewed in China. Anyway, as a result,
freaking Top Gun. He had that old patch that the Chinese government was like, no, and a Chinese government film production company isn't heavily involved in that, and that patch had to be removed for the Top Gun sequel because we don't want to piss off China. So and everybody caught it immediately,
Here's my take.
Was it in a trailer or something?
Yeah.
I'm pro the protests. I'm pro backing them and for pro Hong Kong freedom. But my take is if you're going to do I think a lot of people look at businesses nowadays as almost like a way they look to them. They're not just selling a good or a service. They're also investing in some kind of cause. Like you buy something and then they use that money to then do some kind of good in the world. You see a lot of businesses like this nowadays. And I don't look at businesses to get any moral values or virtues out of them. It's a good or a service.
Yeah,
that's it.
Exactly.
And so like if they're wanting to do business overseas and if they're going to sacrifice a little bit of their integrity to do it, that's fine. That's their choice. But where I kind of have a problem is if then the product or service that we are getting here in America then gets modified and watered down for their benefit. Their benefit.
Yeah,
if it starts impacting our stuff here, then that's when I have a problem.
And I think that's the biggest what they wanted people to see, through that episode is. This is what we're getting.
We're getting some Chinese.
Like you might as well cancel South Park.
Yep.
Yeah.
Again.
I mean, it's like the idea that they want to be ethical for their own gain. They're like, well, listen, we're gonna just touch this very lightly as long as it's benefiting us, and that's our ethical standpoint is our own personal gain. They don't care about one issue or the other. It's how is this going to affect us financially?
I heard this one guy on ESPN today who had this I wish I knew his name, but he had this take where I was like, oh, that was spicy. But he was basically calling out LeBron, saying that it's easy to make stands when it doesn't impact you in any way, like financially. Like if I just say, in 2019, you're not gaining anything to say you're against slavery, for example.
Right,
you know what I mean? Like everybody's already against slavery. It's
cool,
not going to cost you anything.
Getting in on this? Wow.
But back before the Civil War, if you said something like that, it could have been very costly, right? Well,
we'll take our business elsewhere.
Yeah. So the point of that is that
they don't like slaves here.
In this case, LeBron, he used the example of Muhammad Ali. Muhammad Ali spoke out even though it affected his bottom line. And that's when it matters most, is when it could hurt you to say the correct thing. And in this case, LeBron, he had a chance to sort of stand with the people of Hong Kong, show that he really does care about the disenfranchised,
the little man.
But really he decided, my paycheck's more important.
And you know what's funny? Like they said, they didn't say who, but it was reported today that there was one Lakers team member that lost $1 million. That's nothing to these guys.
To these people, yeah.
$1 million. That's what their integrity was worth in a situation like this. To speak the truth on an issue was $1 million. They get fines that are $30,000 and $40,000 and $50,000, and they just go, "Well, I'll just pay the fine." LeBron, when he was actively poaching Anthony Davis and other players, I don't care, I'll just pay the fine. Anthony Davis gets a fine, LeBron Venmos Anthony Davis a fine as an FU to the NBA. $1 million, that's it. You know what I mean? It's a lot of money to the three of us, but to someone who's making, still $1 million at the end of the day, but yeah, you're right. It's interesting, and it kind of shows, I think, a lot of people these true colors. Yeah, it's very revealing. And all of a sudden, I think a lot of people are running out in front of things to go, look how heroic I am. And then we go, gotcha. Mm-hmm. Now we know ethically where you stand. You're looking after LeBron James, and that's it.
With Hollywood, though, I feel like they sold out forever ago.
Of course.
And the only films that ever really take risks, for the most part, are found in film festivals.
Yeah.
And that's where the real art, and I'm putting in quotes, is.
Well, hey, you know what? Now start watching.
This Hollywood cinema.
Yeah. Start looking at movies. When you watch the opening segments, look at the production companies. Over the last 5-10 years, it seems like more and more Chinese companies are getting in on movies. It makes a ton of money over there. You see certain things change, certain things that never get approached. It's almost like communist China is here in Hollywood.
I would say it never really left. It's always been there.
Well, now, yeah.
Not like this.